First and foremost, what Caroline, her favorite movies and who she wants to emulate is Nora Ephron's. Our anchor basically was rom-com, would sort of move outward from there.
It started as Laura as a child. That's a rom-com. That makes sense. Those kind of stepping stones to get to where we are. But if we're going to provide a film that hits on all these different genres, we have to start the film letting the audience know what those are and then slowly preparing them to be like, okay, you can laugh at this, you can cry at this, and you might be freaked out.
Hi, I'm Gordon Burkell from Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify your existing skill set. You can learn more at filmmakeru.com or, of course, follow us on Instagram at filmmaker_u. Every week, we interview a film professional to discuss their work, and this week I'm joined by Daysha Broadway and Jon Higgins, the editors behind Your Monster. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, thanks for having us.
I guess my first question for you guys is, how did you guys get involved with this film?
So I had a friend who recommended me to someone who then recommended me to Caroline, and so I met with her. He was an editor. I feel like a lot of, the way we come to a lot of projects, just like a recommendation by someone. And then yeah, interviewed with Caroline, and we just sort of talked about the script, talked about ideas. And one thing that really drew me to it was the end. I just I love the way it ended. Like, I mean, a lot of it was like, okay, this is great. Like, this is a great story. But I think that the way it ended was what really put it over the top for me and really made it different than sort of anything else that I had read previously.
Which is a big tease because we can't say the ending, so because it was spoiled. So now
That's right.
everyone's
That's
got to
right.
see
Exactly.
Right.
the ending made the film. It's like the new Sixth Sense.
Exactly.
That's what we were going for sure.
Yeah.
How about yourself,
Yeah.
Daisha?
I also came to Caroline kind of on recommendation. So I hear, I heard like the story after we locked picture. I didn't know that I was recommended by Tom Cross to
Oh,
their producer. And then she called my agent. I think she had watched I Want to Dance with Somebody, and so she called my agent and said she wanted to meet with me, which made a lot of sense because I Want to Dance with Somebody also had a lot of musical performances, and Your Monster has like this big stage performance at the end, and there's a lot of singing, so that made sense as well. And then Caroline was actually out of the country. We spoke on the phone, and that's how we met. And we were just like instantly laughing and kind of just clicked, and we had the same sense of humor. And same as John, I like kind of told her what my ideas were and what I think we could do with the film, and then yeah, found out I got the job.
My friends and I would make little videos in our backyards, imitations of Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Eventually that need to tell stories became more of a technical interest and an interest in the art. To me, what's exciting is using cinema in its full potential, which is rhythm and sound design and music. Our job is to set up expectations and then deliver on them. I'm Brian Cates, and this is my course in film editing.
You mentioned the musical numbers. I'm wondering what were some of the challenges to get those to work? Because it's essentially musical-ish, I guess you could say. So how did you guys tackle that? Like, what were some of the challenges?
Well, I mean, I don't know, John like initially assembled them, so maybe you should say first.
Well, I mean, we did go through many versions of them because it was trying to do.
Sure.
There's three like full numbers
Yeah.
that were originally shot, and they were all wonderful. And obviously this movie has a lot of it has a lot to it. Like there's a lot of music. We could have leaned way more into music. We could have leaned way more into horror. We could have leaned way more into so many different directions. But there was a lot of great stuff that ended up on a cutting room floor. So as far as those numbers, we did a lot of versions. We did a version where we only used one. We did a version where we used bits of three of them. Where you know, and I think even the final version has like a little bit of all of it.
I think like the challenge was trying to decide. Like it was like there was this wealth of like production and music, good music, like really good music. What's their name? The Lazarus Brothers?
The Zimmer Brothers, yeah, the Zimmer Brothers.
Yeah, they like nailed it. It's like original music for this fake play. It was great. But it was all well done, and like, and I think it was a matter of like, okay, we're here. Act 3 is booming. We're like want to keep this like momentum going, and so I kind of chose the most upbeat song to contrast with what was happening, and I was like, we should go straight into the most like positive upbeat song, and have that sort of score a montage of the play, so we feel like we're seeing the play and we see how like kind of insane it is, and you're like, what is this play? But what we're hearing is this like, you know, this crazy like song, but the lyrics are basically telling women to just like stifle their rage and like scream it into a pillow. And instead of screaming it into a pillow, you know, Laura screams it out loud. And I think that like that was, to me, that was like, okay, if we're gonna just like go straight into this, we need to like get to this insane ending. And this song really is, it's literally screaming how she feels, or what she's fighting against and what she's been fighting against this whole movie. So let's just go straight into that. And it's like it keeps the energy pumping, and we can like, you know, intercut things. And I thought it was probably, I was like, that's probably the best song, and then we can just get to the meat of the ending and, you know, close it.
It was really fun the way it was sort of countering the moment in the film and what the character is going through, where it's like she's on this trajectory of getting angry, and the song's like about like
Yeah,
stuff.
the song's,
So
yeah,
like,
just sit back down,
exactly.
calm down, everything's okay, be a good woman. Like, you know, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was like how we ended up there.
What, because I've never worked on a musical, so like, what's the workflow for something like that? I'm assuming they pre-record and then set everything up on set, but how does it work for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's all starts with like, you know, our assistants, where they just sort of set it up in a way where you have and this might change per project, but and this one, you know, we had a lot of cameras and sort of did a few versions of the song, so we're able to sort of sync them all up into one giant, you know, one big
The super group.
conglomerate. Yeah, some big super group. And not only were there multiple cameras, but there's also multiple runs through each song. So you just sort of flip through and see what you're missing. Get a lot of options there and multiple takes of each coverage. So there was a lot more at the for the end song, you know, than these individual ones, because I mean the big number was really what mattered the most.
Yeah, but singing at the piano, I think, is just like you just go through the takes. But when you have like, yeah, the big musical number, you want like the super group that shows you every angle for every lyric of the song, and you can just switch between the takes by choosing different mics in Avid, and it's so easy. And then if you have it sunk to like the script sync, it's so easy to just like click through the lyrics and be like, I need this moment, you know, what did we shoot for this moment? And it all pops up in one big group.
Now, I'd love to know, because John, you kind of touched on this, but it's like when I was researching for this, I found one quote where they referred to it as an anti-romantic comedy horror film. And you kind of touched on like, go more horror, go more comedy, could go more. So like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different tones working in this film. So how did you guys work with the different tones and do the shifts between the tones, but still kept us engaged?
Yeah, I mean, even when you explain the movie to someone, they're like, "Oh, what's it about?" And you start explaining it, and then the next thing you know, you're saying, "Yeah, it's a horror like rom-com, but like not too horror, and
Yeah.
it's about like
One
this sort of
person referred to it as
empowerment."
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone could sort of describe a different way, and then I always find myself like saying, "Oh, and also there's some musical numbers in it,"
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, that's also what's special about it, is all these different things going on, but it definitely created a challenge just to sort of dial in that tone.
Mhm.
But the first and foremost, what Caroline loves about movies, her favorite movies, and who she sort of wants to emulate is Nora Ephron. So our anchor basically was it was rom-com, and then we
Mm.
sort of like would sort of move outward from there, like how much horror can we have, how much musical numbers can we have, and the most important thing was that this felt like a rom-com, but then it does take on a different shape and a very unique mold of that.
Yeah, it's a very dark rom-com. You have to,
Exactly.
it gets really dark. I think I just realized that Laura rhymes with Nora.
Oh, right. Oh, right.
Caroline.
I know.
Yeah, but I totally, it was like Nora Ephron's the North Star. And for me, it was about being truthful in every one of those moments. So if a scene that I'm focusing on at the moment is the rom-com portion of the movie, then trying to stay true to what those feel like tonally when you watch them, and like being like, we're gonna turn it on its head, but there's a moment in the film where we really, really start to turn it on its head, and you have to be very like particular about when that happens. It
Mhm.
has to feel right. So there was a lot of watching back, it's just kind of watching down, watching back, and like the movie initially started differently, like it was script, but it started as Laura as a child, and then it was like, because that's a rom-com, that makes sense, all of those kind of stepping stones to get to where we are. But if we're going to provide a film that hits on all these different genres, uh, it's like we have to start the film letting the audience know what those are in a way, and then kind of slowly preparing them to be like, okay, you can laugh at this, you can cry at this, and you might be freaked out by this. And so that was kind of like where I like kind of attacked the beginning of it. It was like, we kind of need to shape this in a way that like the audience knows what they're getting into to an extent, so that they're allowed to laugh when we see Monster, right? Because he's funny. And we don't want to trick them into thinking he's scary, because sometimes he is, but mostly you're falling in love with him and laughing with him because it is a
Yeah.
rom-com. So I think it was like that, setting up the tone from the beginning was the most challenging part, and making sure that like you didn't feel like you were in a completely different movie by the end of it.
Mhm.
You can take an individual scene and really feel good about it, but just
Mhm.
looking at it in the whole context of the film, you're like, this is going to be a great thing that ends up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, but then you have to like, because you do take each scene, you take the scenes that are suspenseful, and you like stay true to cutting that in a suspenseful manner, and then you stay true to cutting the rom-coms, and then like you said, if they are placed incorrectly, or if they are paced incorrectly throughout the film, then it takes the audience out of it, and they're like, it's not smooth transitions throughout. So I
Yeah.
think that like transitioning and pacing, and also making sure the characters were balanced throughout, was like part of how we got through the tonal shifts.
It's interesting that you talked about balancing the characters, because one of the things I was going to ask you about was sort of molding the relationship of the monster and Laura over there, over the whole film, so that because like you said, there's moments where you could go a little bit further with the monster, or you could pull him back, or vice
Mhm.
versa. So I'm wondering, like, how did you guys gauge with Caroline, how far to push things and how far to pull things back with this sort of character arc of these two characters?
There's a balance. Monster makes jokes, like he makes jokes. He
Hmm.
says them, he knows he's funny, he thinks he's funny. Um, Laura is funny in a different way. You're laughing kind of at her, and if she tries to make a joke, it's corny. She's like, when she sees Megan Fahey's character, and she's like, "Is my hair a mess?" And she's like, "No, it's totally a mess, you know, like, and she's not good at this. And so
Right.
I was like, we have to keep, if we keep that balance, then like it also helps with like the reveal later, which I obviously won't spoil, but it helps with like knowing who she is. And so and it helps with the tone, because I'm like, I know who she is, I know who he is, and I'm comfortable with moving forward with that.
In the beginning with them, it's actually it's pretty fun. I mean, it's almost like
Mhm.
straight rom-com, like these montages of them having a good time, you know, a little bit of arguing, and then they find out that they actually kind of like each other, you know, like there's the for those growing pains, I feel like those are something that you are familiar with as a person who's
Mhm.
watching rom-coms.
Mhm.
But then as tend to get more serious, which also happens in rom-coms, uh, you know, I think it's just about staying uh staying with what the motivation is for each person, and like what she's sort of discovering with him, and we're sort of hiding it in sort of like the scene, sort of the plot, but like there's like a bigger thing that's going on
Mhm.
over the duration of the uh of the film. And that's why I think it's really a fun film to watch a second time.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know, you're like,
Mhm.
oh, you sort of see like some nuggets of things that you didn't appreciate the first watch.
Probably one of the smartest things I've ever done for my career. It gave me all the tools that I needed to be able to jump into a new career.
Getting myself into a mindset, thinking like an editor, and being around people that I can talk to on that level was really invaluable to me.
A lot of the things that I learned from that class, I still think about.
I loved the classroom. I loved the computer stations. We built a sense of community.
And it also instills a lot of confidence in you to take that and go out into the world.
After I took the class, I felt very prepared to take the next step.
I owe Manhattan Workshop the career that I have right now.
Things have been going great, and I really have the Manhattan Workshop to thank for that.
One of the things that I found really interesting is her performance is really good.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I think I was going to ask you is it relies a lot on her facial expressions and like her
Mhm.
performance through her face. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering, like, was there more lines that you guys just cut out because her face was just, it sounds weird saying her face was just working, but
No, totally.
was,
The when Monster, after she meets Monster and they're having that conversation on the couch,
Oh
and
yeah,
you're yeah, like
yeah.
there was more dialogue in there, but I kind of took it out just to kind of ramp up the fact that she was about to cry again.
Mhm.
And so like I just when he just like looks at her and he sees it and she's trying to hold it back. And
Mhm.
then he realizes she's gonna cry, and he makes a face, and then she
Then
makes a
he-
face, and then it's just like everyone's crying, and then
There's a
he's
lot of
pissed.
right. There's a lot of just like there's like, oh, what's this build happening without anybody saying anything? There's like,
Yeah, like no one's saying anything, and it's
Yeah.
like it's just like it was to harp back on the pie eating thing. It's like because Kayla's character Maisie told her not to cry, and she tried to hold it in, and
Right.
so I was like, maybe she's trying to do it again, you know, on
Yeah.
the couch, and so yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
Did you guys watch the original short and sort of use that as a guide, or did you just put that away?
Nope, threw it
I
away.
I had watched it, but I didn't see it. I didn't see it before doing this. Like I had watched it after the fact, just because I wanted to. You know, I didn't want to come in with any sort of expectations or
Mhm.
any sort of biases, and I just sort of talked about it and then checked it out later on. You know.
Yeah, I think it's better to discuss the vision with the director, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I worked on
I,
plenty of short. I worked on plenty of short films where there's like a, you know, they may not always, for maybe financial reasons or whatever reasons, it's like couldn't quite, you know, do this thing, or there's something that bothers me about it. And I think anything that I ever work on, I'm always going to look back on, and I wish I had done this differently. Wish I had done that differently. So I wouldn't want to use
Oh,
that
yeah.
as a sort of like the guide for what we're doing next. You know, I'd rather, like I
Yeah,
said, just sort of talk to her about it and see what her vision is for the feature.
that makes sense.
I have one last question for you guys. What would you say is your
Mhm.
favorite guilty pleasure film or TV show to watch?
My favorite guilty pleasure television show is Futurama, and I've seen every episode, and I watch it. I will sometimes just watch of my favorite episodes because I know them back to front. I'm like I don't need to watch this again. I could watch something new, but this is comforting. And the 2009 The Mummy I have seen an obsessive amount of times, and I will always watch it if it comes on. I was on a plane and I was like, I'm gonna put on The Mummy. It was playing at the Egyptian recently, and because it
Great
was the
place to play it.
anniversary, it's a great place to watch it. And I went, and people were dressed up, and I was like, why didn't I dress up?
We're talking about
Like,
the
what?
one with Tom Cruise, the part of the Dark Universe, or is it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. So, 2009. It's Brendan Fraser and Rachel
Oh,
Weisz.
I thought that was in the 90s. Wasn't it?
No. Oh my God, it is. Did I say 2009? I said 2009 like twice.
Yeah, that one's a great series.
I'm so sorry. No disrespect to the filmmakers of that film, but I am absolutely not talking about that one. It was 1999. It is very early for me. It was 1999, and yeah, it's like one of my favorite movies of all time. And Bob Duxay cut it, and he's like a mentor of mine now, and I get to talk to him all the time about it, and it's great. And when they did the third one, and I saw the like deadline that said Rachel Weisz wasn't going to be in it, and I was like, not me either. I'm also not going to be in it, and I didn't watch it. I think the two of them are amazing, but if you take one of them out of the movie, I don't want to watch it.
It seems like they don't make those films anymore, because I think about like National Treasure, The Mummy,
Yeah.
they all sort of came out around the same time, and they're all sort of like, let's go on an adventure. Like, it's going to
Yeah.
be fun, and there's going to be cheesy moments, but let's just go on this adventure.
My friend Matt said it best because he's like a big like monster file, and he was like, they said, let's take this mummy and put it in an Indiana Jones film, and that's The Mummy. And I was like, yeah. And it works so well because it's like, it's so fun, but they don't do it anymore. And it's,
How
because
about
they
yourself?
tried to dark universe it. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'll shut up
they tried
about
to
it.
go Batman with it.
Yeah, they tried to go, don't do that. Just have fun with it,
Yeah. How about
Sorry,
yourself?
John.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's good. Mine's not nearly going to be as good, but I think that there's a movie that it's kind of boring, but it's just The Naked Gun. You know,
Oh, that's great.
I've probably seen that. I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say like probably 60 times. Like a lot of times when I'm having a bad day, I like just pop it on, or like or like I just need to sort of relax. And I think also I sort of tie it to a lot of memories in life. You know, at the time that I saw it, and I also love Leslie Nielsen. You know, I thought that
Yeah.
he's even every interview that he does, like the guy's just like he's just all about making people smile and making them laugh.
Yeah.
And so I always feel good. I probably know every word to it.
Give us a
and
quote.
Oh God, I was just about to say one and I was like, oh, I don't think that dated well. First one that popped into my mind. Anyway, it was like
Do it. No, don't do it. We're being recorded.
Yeah. Anyway, so I even like with I have two older brothers, and we sort of quote the movie back to each other, and there's sometimes like I'll quote something and totally forget that it's even from the movie. It's become sort of such a part of the lexicon, and I don't know. It's like my happy place.
Are you excited for the remake, or?
I'm not. I gotta be honest. I'm not. I don't. There's some movies I feel like should just never be redone. Like it's like they reach a magic, and they'll never reach it again. Like Dumb and Dumber was pretty great. Dumb and Dumber 2 and Dumberer or whatever the other one. Like it's just never gonna be the same.
Yeah.
There's something about it. There's something about just catching that sort of lightning in a bottle that should I don't know. I just don't think it should ever be. Let's just make a new thing. Let's make some more.
Yeah.
Something else special like that. Your monster.
Make your monster.
Exactly. The thing that people are gonna be talking about for years is gonna be their happy place.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you guys today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Gordon.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
And that's it for our show this week, everyone. Make sure to check us out at filmmakeru.com, or of course on Instagram at filmmaker_you. I'm Gordon Burkell. Thanks for watching.